Hello, people. This Pride Month, we speak with one of India's most distinctive voices from the world of fashion. Salim Asgarally built a celebrated career as a designer long before conversations around sexuality and gender identity entered the mainstream. At a time when being openly gay invited social stigma, professional risks, and legal uncertainty, Salim chose visibility over silence. A designer trained at the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising and UCLA, Salim became one of India's earliest formally trained fashion designers, dressing celebrities, mentoring young talent, and creating a label recognized both in India and internationally. Yet, perhaps, the most remarkable thread in Salim's story is not woven in fabric, but into identity itself. In recent years, Salim has embraced a transition into the third gender, adding another chapter to a life lived authentically despite social resistance and changing legal landscapes. As Pride Month reminds us of both celebration and struggle, this conversation explores what it means to claim one's truth in a society that is often uncomfortable with difference and in a legal environment where the rights and recognition of transgender persons continue to evolve. Hi, Salim.
Hi, Vinta. Thank you for having me here. It's
It's
such a pleasure to talk with you as always.
I'm really excited about this conversation, essentially because it's Pride Month. Happy Pride Month.
Thank you. Thank you so much and wish you also a very happy Pride Month.
Thank you. So I'm going to go straight to the questions. Salim, tell me, looking back to the years when homosexuality was not only socially unacceptable but also criminalized in India, what gave you the courage to live openly as a gay person when many others felt compelled to hide?
Well, looking back at the time I actually came out as a gay person, it was the early 90s. And things were very different from what they are today in terms of acceptability, legality, and everything that goes along with it socially. I had the advantage of having, completed my degree in fashion in the US of A, in Los Angeles, namely. And things were very different at that time over there than it was over here. So I was exposed to a life that, the LGBTQ community led over there, which was much more open, which was much more free. So it gave me an exposure in courage, actually, that it's absolutely okay to be yourself. And honestly speaking, I think it was the courage of conviction that led me to come out and be visible at a time when it was difficult to do so. It was also, again, the upbringing that I came from. We come from a very liberated family in terms of their thought processes. And I never really encountered, the usual stigma that is associated with coming out as a gay person, even in those days. My people, my folks, my friends, especially, were all very accepting. And I think the bottom line of the whole thing is if you, as a person, are able to accept it yourself, then it's easier to come out to other people. But when you have questions which are unanswered within yourself, it might be difficult to, face everything that is around at that point, and make it more difficult. But fortunately, it was not so for me. I was pretty clear in terms of my identity. I was proud of it. And that pride, I think, was infectious, and it led other people to think of me not in a derogatory manner, which you know how people used to think in those days, but when you are confident about something, it is infectious. It just kind of spreads to other people, and people treat you as normal because you feel you are normal. It's when you think you are not normal or you are kind of abnormal that it leads other people to think so.
But I'm sure during the time that was early 90s when you, uh, you know, uh, broke the ice with your family about your first partner who you also lived with for almost 15 years.
15 years.
Right. So, uh, I mean, how was that how did that whole story turn out in terms of like, because until then you had not gone to that extent of like revealing to them your sexuality, etc. So, talk a little bit about the experience, especially for the viewers who are going to like, learn from it to realize how one can tackle these things within the family.
Within the family, I think my mother at that point of time was the most important person in my life. I had lost my father by then. This was after I came back from the US of A. And my partner at that point of time um, was also on the verge of coming out, though he hadn't yet opened up to his family. And I have this streak of honesty within me which I cannot live with duplicity. I cannot be one kind of a person and then pretend to be another. So it's very important for me, especially in terms of those people that I love and I'm close to, that they should know who I really am and who I really want to be. It's very important. So it was not something that I could have kept from them. So I did confide to my mother and to my sisters at that point of time. Initially, of course, it I wouldn't say came as a rude shock to them because mothers always know.
Yeah.
So, but when you actually face that reality,
Mm.
when it comes to talking about it, it could be a different story. So, yes, initially they were a bit upset, and not so much as in because it was something that society did not accept, but it was more about their concern for me as to how will I face the world and how will I kind of, lead a life which is happy,
Mm.
given the fact that I have decided to come out. So I kind of assured them that it's okay, that we are capable individuals and capable human beings of being able to deal with this kind of an issue. And when you are sure about something, you are certain about something, the world will also follow. Times change. We
Yeah.
are in a society which is constantly evolving, and as I see it, there will come a time when these things will appear very normal. And now, looking back almost 35 years to 40 years later, it has become kind of normal.
Yeah.
There is a normalcy which has kind of now been associated with it, which is wonderful.
But interestingly, I mean, I'm still going to dwell on the, your partnership part because I'm so close to you and your family, and I'm like aware of how things turned out. And I realized how I'm not taking your partner's name because I don't know if he would like to be named or not. But um, I mean, it was very interesting to see how, like, even today, although, you both moved on and he's got his own life and you've got your own life, your own respective partners in life, you're the closest buddies and the closest friends. And, whenever either of you need strength, you just lean on each other. And he's always there when you need him, and you're always there when he needs you. And you're also very close to each other's partners. So you've also kind of created that kind of a space in which all of you can holiday, all of you can have a great time. So, how did that come about? Because I've also seen how he has, kind of become a part of your whole family. So, that whole space would be very interesting for you to tell us how he became such a important part of your entire family and the kind of great times that you guys have had.
So, the time when we got into this relationship and we decided to go forth and get married, which then legally was impossible, it still is even today. Uh, it was a turning point in our lives. Our lives changed dramatically after that.
Mm.
In terms of how the world viewed us and how we viewed the world. So there was a lot that we faced jointly. Um, resistance, maybe a bit of resistance from his side of the family, a bit from my side of the family, and how we stepped into the world and gathered our friends and family around us to be supportive. So that was, let's say, it was almost like a mission. but a very organic mission, which happened very naturally. We didn't really have
Yes,
to pressurize or put force onto it. So we went through a lot in life together. 15 years is not a short period of time. We went apart because we didn't agree on certain things, and life doesn't always work out the way you plan it to. But we had a wonderful innings and a great partnership, which we cherish even today. So the basis of our relationship was always love, family, and great caring for each other, which was actually what our bond was about. And that bond, because it is based on love and caring, still endures. So we now may not be in a sexual relationship, but platonically and emotionally, we are still very strong. So it has transcended many barriers, which, today people talk about red flags and green flags and, their exes. And sometimes, yeah, it doesn't work out for certain people. Uh, but for me, fortunately, it did, and we've been able to transcend that and be great friends. And of course, he was a part of the family. He will always be. You can't throw somebody out and bring somebody in.
yes.
So, everything goes on and it's beautiful.
I know, interestingly, it's not even like a divorce. When he's around, it's like he's very much part of your family and he's there at your parties and major events, and you are there at major events in his life. And it just seems like you guys have moved on with the different partners now, but very much one family as a whole. So that's really interesting. And I really kind of really love that part about the two of you. You
And,
know,
these are all soul connections, Vinta.
huh?
And soul connections are forever.
Yes.
Like even ours, our friendship is a soul connection, so it will always endure. We
Yeah.
have our moments of disagreement,
Yes.
but eventually, I think these
Yes.
bonds really put things into perspective.
I know. I think we both also met at a very strange spot at that time, and I think you were falling apart. Your relationship was falling apart, and my relationship was falling apart, and we just kind of mirrored each other's anxiety and complexities and conflicts and everything, because you were going through something very ditto to what I was going through, and we were like, we were questioning life in very similar ways, and we used to just spend, I remember at one point in time, for months on end we were talking, like we didn't sleep for, I think, weeks, because we used to just keep talking and we used to just keep speaking, because there was so much you and I needed to share about ourselves, that we only had each other to do it too. And that was such a healing process for me as well as for you. And then as life went on, we've just drifted apart in that relationship, but remained together as the best friends in the world. You know,
Exactly, and
yeah.
I think you might have forgotten, or do you remember the times we just only laughed?
I
We
know.
laughed
I
endlessly,
know. That's the thing.
and
I mean, that's the time we needed to only laugh and we needed to cry and we needed to just be who we are and be able to be with the person who understands what we are going through.
I think, coming from that space that we were just discussing,
Hmm.
this entire talk about gender and gender identities is all very good, of course. It does help people to kind of, look at themselves in the manner that they would want to perceive themselves as.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's not about sexuality, it's not
Yeah.
about gender, it's about spirituality, it's about how you relate, how one soul relates to the other. It's
Yes.
also about, we are always on the lookout for perfection. Though
Right.
perfection doesn't exist in the manner that we imagine it to. Every moment is perfect by itself.
Right.
And, we think if we had been in this relationship or not, or had we done this, life would have been different, life would have been better, maybe life could have been worse. But the fact is, life is exactly as it has to be.
Absolutely. I mean, like, if you go back to us, I mean, that was one part of my life in which all the myths about gender and sexuality shattered and fell apart for me. Because,
Absolutely.
I mean, at that time, it was just you, a gay man, and me, a heterosexual woman. somewhere needed each other and nobody else, right?
Exactly.
And then we were traveling and we were road tripping and we went all over France and we laughed our guts out and we wept on each other's shoulders and we just took that curve that both of us needed to take to come to a place where we remained friends like nobody can ever imagine how good friends we are.
Of
At the
course.
same time, we found freedom. You found freedom within yourself. I found freedom within myself. And we are here now having this conversation in Pride Month in 2026. And we met in 2005. Can you imagine? So,
Of
what
course,
an amazing journey it's been.
it's been a wonderful journey, and kudos to both of us for having pulled it through.
Absolutely,
Uh, so
absolutely.
I think we need to pat
Yeah.
ourselves on our back.
So now you have a number of exes who are part of your family, and they're like very much there with your present partner, and life goes on, and
And
it's
what
so
could be better?
beautiful.
What could be better?
Absolutely nothing could be better.
Why do you need to lose people in your life? There
Exactly,
is no need. When you can have
exactly,
it all, then why settle for less?
exactly, and that's why this interview with you is so important for people to realize that every ending is a new beginning. There is no such thing like an ending. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes, and
how do
it's also when you refuse to evolve and you stall your process of evolution. That's when the trouble starts. But if you are able to evolve and let other people around you also evolve, including your partners, it's very liberating for all. And then each one can realize their highest good. And
yeah,
that is most important, to be your best self and to realize your highest good.
really, I mean, like, since we both kind of shared very similar experiences, I completely and 100% agree with you. But we're going to go back to different things like we have discussed, we'll talk about. So I'm coming to your next question, which I have thought of, which is fashion is often associated with self expression and reinvention. How did your work as a designer influence your understanding of identity? And did the creative freedom you experienced in fashion help you embrace your own journey of gender transition?
Um, it's a very interesting question because it has kind of made me delve back into my psyche to think, which was the starting point of fashion in my life. And as I took myself back to my formative years, and when I say formative years, I'm talking 3, 4, 5 year old, which is when, I kind of had this fascination for women's clothes. So I had four sisters who were extremely fashionable, much older than me. So they had always had these wonderful clothes that were lying around, and I never hesitated to put them on. Of course, it was not something that was liked by my family.
Hmm.
So there was a kind of um, what should I say? A scolding that I would receive, that you're not supposed to be wearing these. These are women's garments. You cannot wear them.
Right.
And that somewhere I think sparked a kind of even greater fascination
Hmm.
for fashion and everything that it has to offer. Now, I think one of the reasons I took to fashion is, apart from the sense that I was a very creative person and I needed to create all the while, is because I was dressing somebody else, pretending I'm dressing myself.
Hmm.
So that entire expression that I created was actually for myself.
Right.
It was a journey within myself. It was just told outwardly, but actually it was a journey that was happening inside me. So that led me to various collections over a period of 40 years, various shows dressing some very wonderful people, including yourself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's, I think, where identity and fashion
Hmm.
come together in my case. It may not be the same for everybody, but I think when you are designing or as a fashion person, it's very important to be able to visualize the garment that you're creating on someone. It could be yourself. It could be a muse. In my case, subconsciously, it was myself.
Right. Very
Though
interesting.
consciously, I told the world that maybe I was thinking of my grandmother, or was my muse, or I was thinking of a particular celebrity or star. But honestly, when I look back now, it was me.
Hmm.
So that did cement my identity, which I was probably in a fledgling state. It was like, the chrysalis and the butterfly and the caterpillar story. So that was my chrysalis phase, the 40 years where I lived in this chrysalis of
Hmm.
developing myself to one day fly out as a butterfly.
How beautiful.
So
Yeah.
I think that's where it started, and now we are here today in 2026, looking at a very different me.
But can you share what this transition actually meant for you spiritually and emotionally, and whether it felt like becoming someone new and finally becoming the person you have always been?
Um, it's been emotionally, it's
Hmm.
been a very, I would think, something that has strengthened me a lot.
Okay.
Because for the first time in my life, I would think I needed no validation.
Hmm.
My transition has made me free of validation, free of approval,
Right.
free of seeking acceptance. And I think that kind of freedom to experience was something that I never imagined could exist.
Right.
Because even ultimately, when you're talking about fashion, and as a fashion designer, when you're creating a design and you're putting out a collection over there, you are looking at validation, you're looking
Right.
at acceptance, you're looking at approval. One of the reasons why currently I'm not designing
Hmm.
or not doing fashion in a big way
Hmm.
is I don't need that validation any longer.
How
I'm
in
not seeking approval.
right.
So I'm liberated. I'm completely free to do just about anything. So it's a different phase that I am now in life, which I think is also a kind of a chrysalis phase. So I'm not pushing it because I'm waiting to see what really emerges
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
comes out. So emotionally, it has been very emboldening, and spiritually, yes, because I think it has helped me to evolve with honesty and align to myself. So I'm now a more centered person. I'm much more calm.
Hmm.
I am not pretending at all. So the pretense has gone because now I'm true to my identity. So that itself is something that has been very life changing, I would say.
It's very interesting because this is a transition I've seen you go through. I've been there as a part of your, extended family out there,
Mm-hmm.
watching you go through this transition. Of course, you had this wonderful new partner who kind of supported you through it and stood by
Yes,
you. I saw how your mother, who's been your greatest strength, right? And she's like
absolutely.
over 100 years old today, and she still stands by you, and she's the most modern human being I have ever met in my life. I saw how easily she just completely, allowed you to slip into this new role and be who you are, and, never questioned you about what you were feeling and going through and how important it was. Because I remember having conversations with you and you telling me how important it is for you to be this way, because this is what from childhood you have always just wanted to be. And this gives you absolute freedom. And your mother completely understood it. Even I took a few weeks to process it, because suddenly there was this, although gay, this man next by my side when I went out, and now this was a third gender who was by my side, and we were going out and we were still partying and we were still going for our coffees and we were still going for our lunches and we were still going out to parties. Then there were other friends like your previous partner, whom we've spoken about, whom you lived with for 15 years, who never had a problem. He and his new partner also accepted you the way you were without any questions. But they were this time more than your family. The opposition came from your friends. You had a big group of friends whom you lost, which I am aware of. And I would really like to hear you speak about that and talk about how that felt, and how what you went through before you kind of resettled and said, okay, if they are not in my world, they're not in my world.
It's always unsettling to kind of lose friends,
Mm-hmm.
because when you make friends without any agenda, it's a very honest appeal for togetherness, and being together with people who you assume are very close to you and who completely understand you, and then to suddenly fall out with them.
Just because the way you look, and they are embarrassed to have you around in their homes or in their communities and in their uh, as in this new avatar. There were lots of them, and I saw you and I saw the pain that it caused you. So talk about it, because I think many people in the world will learn a lot from what this entire experience for you was.
It was painful initially
Mhm.
when I was told to dress in a certain manner that would be more socially acceptable to a certain lot of people who were then in my life, who probably I still cannot put a finger on it and say were they embarrassed, were they threatened, or what was the real reason. But whatever the reason may be, I don't give anyone else the right to choose how I should live or how I should dress, because I think that infringes on my personal freedom, which I would not compromise on. So, but as you go along, you understand that there are all kinds of people. They may have been good friends, but they come with their different perspectives and different problems, and it is not about me, it's about them.
Hmm.
They are their problems,
Hmm.
and each one needs to deal with their own problems. So it was definitely not something that I took personally. I
Hmm.
just feel sorry for them
Hmm.
that they lost a great friend, and I do hope that at some point of time they realize where they went wrong and decide
I guess the
not
way
to
you
do
say
that in
that,
the future with someone else.
it's the way you say it that, so I mean, you put it very beautifully, saying that it's, it's not about me, it's about them and all of those things. But that stigma carries forward, and as long as when you were dressed like a man but gay, they could pretend that you were like not gay in their
Mm-hmm.
families and among their own friends and communities. But when you transitioned and were dressing the way you wanted to dress, that's when the problem
Mm-hmm.
really arose. And that's when they started feeling very embarrassed to have you around them, along with their families. For me, it was like, I just decided to call you over, and when you walked in flamboyantly dressed the first time to my house the way you were, it just broke the ice. And my mother, who's 93 now, never questioned me about it. Like, for her, it was like, this is a mad guy. We've known him to be completely crazy. He'll do anything. If he's happy, we are happy. And that was the end of the story, right? Or I'm just assuming that was her thought process, because she's never questioned. But for others, they had issues. But and that was a little difficult for even me to accept, because those were really very close friends of yours, you know, and you used to spend most of your time with them. So I was a little very hurt for your sake that, they did not think you were appropriately uh, dressed to have in their living rooms and in their homes during parties and pujas and celebrations and festivals.
Well, when you choose unconventional paths, then you need to be prepared for a certain form of resistance, and it could come from anywhere. It could come from people who are very distant, who are strangers, to people who you love, and maybe your friends and family. So these are things that, as a person, when you step out to do something that is not the norm,
Right.
You need to be mentally prepared. You need to be that much stronger
Mm-hmm.
and understand that people will say a few things because it's new to them. The concept is new to them. Um, it could pose, it could threaten them. It could make them reflect on their own selves. It could make them reflect on their own sexualities, which maybe they are not talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, there are things called homophobia. There is, people are phobic about addressing their own internal issues. So when they see it slap in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
they kind of don't like it. I've had friends whose parents, for instance, have objected to them being friendly with me,
Mm-hmm.
imagining that their children might also take to dressing like me or, uh, you know, uh, wanting to be transgender.
Right.
And I think that is so lame.
Hmm.
And it's just fear because nobody can change anyone to become something else. This is a very deep rooted thing. It's
Hmm.
about your identity, and nobody and no one can force anyone to do something of that sort or influence someone to do that. It has to come from within. So it's
Absolutely.
rather sad that people cannot stand up for themselves,
Hmm.
and rather sad that they choose to live with dishonesty rather than honesty.
Yeah, I don't know if it's on dishonesty versus honesty, but maybe yeah, it is about fear, and it is definitely, um, yeah. You require courage to be who you are, and that courage is
Absolutely.
not there in most people. Anyway, let's go on to Pride Month. That's what we are here for. And Pride Month is often celebrated through parades, parties, and rainbow flags. For someone who has lived through decades of social change, what does pride truly mean to you today? Is it a celebration, a protest, a remembrance, or all three?
Uh, Not so much of a remembrance, I would think, but definitely it is a celebration. And as the name goes, pride, it's about taking pride in who you are. It's about being proud about yourself,
Right,
about your identity. It is coming out of the dark.
right.
It is about visibility because we have been made to feel invisible for
Hmm.
such a long period of time, uh, especially after the British era in India. We were really thrown back. Though, members of the third gender have existed historically always. So it's only during the dark ages of the British in India that the colonization happened and laws were turned upside down, which never even existed. So now, with this newfound legitimacy that has been accorded all across the world, because pride happens all across the world. It's not just an Indian phenomenon or a Western phenomenon. It happens in all places today.
Hmm.
It's about being able to come out over there on the streets and show people that you are fine. Because at the end of the day, if you are fine, they will also be fine.
Yeah,
So to walk in a parade is not about just about telling people that you are there. It's also telling people that it's okay. We are just as normal as you are, and we are here.
right.
So acceptance is that much greater, and I think it's very important for
Hmm.
people to be able to normalize this entire situation.
Very interesting. So, what are your plans for Pride Month? Although this episode will come around the 18th when half the month will be over. But do you have plans with your friends and with other people in your community to do anything for Pride Month?
I was thinking of having a party
Wonderful. And dress
before the month
wisely.
ends.
So we call all our friends and we have
We
a
call
great
all our
day.
friends and we party,
Uh,
and freedom to dress again, just as you want.
yeah, that's wonderful. But around the world and increasingly in India as well, transgender people are facing new challenges around recognition, documentation, healthcare, and public acceptance. How do you view the tension between a person's right to define themselves and the state's desire to categorize identity through laws and policy?
I feel historically there has always been resistance.
Right,
And anything when new that challenges the system raises its head, the system tries to shut it down.
right.
And that's historically proven.
Yeah. Hmm.
So if you have laws now which have been framed, which obviously has uh, done damage to people seeking their own identity, being able to define who they are themselves, which is called self definition. It will take some time before, the state largely starts understanding and accepting that it's very important for people to be able to define themselves. So the new transgender bill that
Hmm.
has just been introduced and passed in parliament
Right.
will at some point have to look at itself again
Hmm.
and revise itself so that it empowers people rather than pushes them back. Right now, what is happening is a whole community that is trying to come to terms with itself and with the world around it has been put into a bad disposition.
Hmm.
So there are many things that they cannot avail of, which in their time of need, and believe me, when you are transitioning or coming out
Hmm.
as the third gender, you need a lot of support. I may have been lucky or privileged or had the courage of conviction to be able to do
A
what I want to do.
supportive family, and belong
Yes,
to a certain strata of society where, by and large, it's acceptable.
absolutely. But when the state does not want to be supportive, then it makes it that much harder. So I
Right.
would say the fight has just become harder,
Hmm.
and whenever the fight is harder, the outcome will be that which will be much more powerful. It will strengthen people even more.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, one has to walk through the fire before you reach your destination. Even gold has to be put into fire before it can really shine. It has to be hammered before it can be turned into a great, ornament.
But
So it's the same thing.
on an emotional note, do people really need to go through fire, get burned, and then come out to shine? Isn't it time in a democracy and in a world that we live in that it becomes acceptable to just be who you are, and just be free? Why does someone have to go through so much hardship and pain to be free?
Because there are vested interests always. It's not as simple.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, even a mother who bears a child has to go through 9 months of not a very comfortable situation. Even when a child is born, there is a lot of pain,
Hmm.
and only then something beautiful comes out of it. So anything which is seeking its birth
Hmm.
will have to endure some form of pain, suffering, before it is able to emerge in all its glory. So
Chris,
I think these are just stumbling blocks.
right?
I choose to be positive about it,
Yeah.
and I don't think this is going to push back the movement,
Hmm.
because you can't push back something that is honest. You can't push back something that is true. It
Right.
will always remain and will show up. So,
Right.
however much you might try to shut it down, it's
Hmm.
not going to disappear.
So, lastly, having spent your life challenging conventions, whether in fashion, sexuality, or gender, what would you say to a young queer or transgender person who feels trapped between their authentic self, their family's expectation, and society's judgment?
I would say, most importantly, be kind to yourself. That is very important, because when you are coming out or wanting to come out, you go through this phase where you think the entire world is my enemy.
Hmm.
You find it hard to find support.
Mm-hmm.
So take each day as it comes, take one day at a time,
Mm-hmm.
and tell yourself that it's okay. Everything might not work out as you have planned it or want it to be,
Right.
but at least you have made a beginning. So to make a beginning is very important, because once you make a beginning and are honest to yourself, everything will fall into place and start happening in a manner where then you don't need to be aggressive about it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to, you know, push too many boundaries. Let it happen. Let the flow happen. Let it happen naturally. The world is evolving. We are moving into the fifth dimension. Things have changed. A lot of change is going to come. So I would tell them not to be disheartened and just understand themselves. Go ahead, live your life, because this is the only life you have. So enjoy it.
What you
Enjoy
said,
the process.
what very beautiful thing that you said was about not be letting things happen and not be aggressive, because I think when we aggressively try to be something that we want the world to recognize ourselves as, we somewhere erode our own selves and we kind of hurt ourselves in a certain way. So, allowing things to happen is, I think, the most beautiful thing you said, because change is not something that happens with the click of fingers or, blink of an eye. It has to take its own time to take place. And that is something lovely. And
Definitely.
yeah.
I completely agree with what you have said.
Hmm.
Uh, Change will happen. It may not happen maybe in this lifetime.
Hmm.
It may take longer, or it may happen.
Hmm.
That is not in our hands. So just letting it, the process happen. And
Hmm.
what is really important, that you have been a part of that process. You
Yes.
might not see the end of the story, but you are part of the process. You're making it happen. And
Hmm.
that is important, that you are one with what the universe wants to achieve.
Absolutely.
So that is important.
Absolutely. I'm going to end this interview with a very gentle question in which I would like you to speak to your younger self. If you could speak to your younger self, the young Salim who was beginning a career in fashion and discovering his identity, what would you tell him about the journey that lay ahead if it was today?
I would tell that young person out there not to pursue perfection all the while,
Mm-hmm.
because the pursuit of perfection by itself is denying how nature actually functions.
Right.
So you have to allow
Mm-hmm.
yourself to do your best and not kill yourself for it, and let things happen in a manner that keeps you and the world calm.
Right.
And I think uh, in the journey ahead, there may be a lot of disappointments, there may be a lot of victories, but to remain centered and not get flustered with either victory or defeat, and just keep walking,
Mm-hmm.
is the mantra.
Absolutely fantastic. What a lovely note to end on. And I'm so glad we have done this interview in the Pride Month, and world will see it also in the Pride Month. And, you know, to talk to a person who has been through a major uh, portion of his life, who's seen a lot, as, he's traversed a particular area of his life, for him to speak to all the young people today who are coming into being who they are, becoming themselves, coming out. I think, and in the modern world where it is much easier than it was in your time, I think this will be a Very, very beautiful interview for me to publish. Thank you so much, Salim, for being there.
Thank you, Vinta. It was lovely talking to you again.
As always,
And yes, as always.
I'm looking
And
forward to the Pride party, by the way.
of course, before the month ends, for sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.